Hey, what's up, guys? This is Benny Ricciardi with rotocurve.com, and I'm here with our DraftKings NBA targets video for Wednesday, March 2nd. There's a lot of games on tap tonight and a lot of big money tournaments out there. So let's take a look at the slideshow and talk about a couple guys who we think, are going to help you win some tournaments tonight and who are going to wind up on a lot of our rosters. The four guys we're going to talk about right here are Will Barton at $6,000, Dwight Howard at $7,600, Markieff Morris at $5,500, and going back to the D'Angelo Russell well at $5,800. First guy we're going to talk about is Will Barton at $6K. His team is favored by 7 with a 211 total against the LA Lakers. He faces a very bad Lakers defense. Very likely may see some Kobe Bryant defense as well, playing at the 2 or the 3 spot. So it is a pretty good matchup for Barton and a chance for him to have some big upside. Remember now, Gallo is still out and will be for about the next 2 weeks. And we have seen Barton do pretty well in that situation earlier in the year. When Gallo was out, there was a stretch of games, a nice run there where Barton was putting up 35 to 45 fantasy points on a consistent basis. The other thing I really like about him is he had a very subpar game last time out in this exact same situation. So his ownership's going to stay low. We talked about Barton on Monday in his first full game with Gallo out. He only put up like 23 or 24 fantasy points, really struggled against that Memphis defense, didn't have a huge game. And I think that's going to keep a couple people off of him because he was incredibly highly owned the other night. So a couple of those people who he burned the other night are probably not going to be looking to use him today. And this is a classic spot for a bounce back game here against a much softer defense in the LA Lakers. He did have 40 earlier in the season when Gallo was out against the same Lakers team. So we've already seen him have some success against the Lakers in this matchup. So I think now with Gallo out again, Barton at only 6K. Remember, earlier in the year, he was 7K, even up into the higher 7K range, and we were still playing him, and he was still paying off. So at 6K, needing 30 points for value, 36 for upside, I definitely still think we have some room to see Will Barton go, 35 to 45 fantasy points again in this matchup and, give you more than even the 6X that we really look for. Next guy I want to talk about, Dwight Howard at $7,600. He's in a high total game against the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans are one of the worst teams in the league at stopping opposing big men, especially at the center position. Dwight Howard has quietly been playing much better lately. He's back up to over 36 minutes per game. When he was playing like 20, 25 when he was banged up and, missing a couple games and sitting on, every other night. He's gone 5.3x now in 6 of his last 8 games. And 5 of those 6 games, he's gone 6x or better. So not only is he giving us consistency, he's also giving us the upside that we look for. He's doubled in 8 of his last 9 games. And like we said, against the Pelicans, which is a tough matchup, I do think Howard's in a good spot. The Pelicans and the Rockets both play pretty fast, so I do think this is going to be a really high-scoring game. And I think you're going to get another nice upside game out of Dwight Howard. Remember, at 5x, we only need 38 points out of him. At 6x, we're really looking at about 45, and I do think he has a chance to get us 40 to 50 fantasy points in this matchup, as he's done in most of his recent games. Like I said, 6 of his last 8 games, he's basically been right there. So it's not like we're asking him to do much more than, we're asking other people to do. He is a little bit cheaper compared to some of the other top centers as well. So like I said, there's a lot of reasons why he's standing out today. Next guy we're going to talk about is Markieff Morris. His Washington Wizards team is favored by 4 in a game with a huge 220-point total against the Timberwolves. The thing I like about Morris is he's now in the starting lineup. He played 37 minutes in the last game, wound up with 45 fantasy points, and he should see big minutes again in this game. I'm thinking somewhere in the 32 to 35-minute range. And at 5,500, I think he's still a tad too cheap for the new role that he has. We know he can rebound pretty well. He can assist. He does play defense, steals on the blocks. And he's no longer in Phoenix, which has been a pretty toxic situation over there. He's on a new team. He's fitting in. He's playing minutes, and he's producing pretty well. So at 5,500, you need like 27 for minimum value, 33 for upside. Anything above that is just, value added. I do think Morris has a chance to get us into that, upside and value added range here. I see like a 30 to 35 point fantasy game in his future, and I'd be perfectly fine with that at 5,500. Last guy we're going to talk about is D'Angelo Russell. And as you can see by the picture here, his coach Byron Scott really doesn't like him, but luckily it doesn't matter because the management told Byron Scott to play the kid anyway. He's in a game with the 211 total against Denver. Denver's been bad on defense, paced up, and having trouble stopping point guards. So I do think there's a lot going in Russell's favor. Now, he had a monster game last night where he put up 55 fantasy points. I think he had like 35 real-life points, hit 6 or 7 threes, had that great game where he was walking down the court, slowly mouthing, "I got ice in my veins." This kid can play. This last night, why he was the number 2 overall pick in a draft. Now, I do want to temper expectations. I don't think you're getting another 50 fantasy points out of D'Angelo Russell. And a big reason for that is Kobe Bryant is back today and is going to be playing. Now, you can say what you want about Kobe, but he shoots the ball a lot, and he does take a lot of the usage away from some of these kids. When Kobe's out, we've seen bigger games out of D'Angelo Russell, out of Clarkson, even Julius Randle, who plays the power forward spot, sees his per-minute averages go up when Kobe's not in the lineup. So on the tail end of a back-to-back here, as much as Byron Scott has been told to play this kid, I do see him sitting him a little bit more. Instead of getting the 36 minutes that we got out of Russell last night, I think we're going to be back down to probably somewhere between 28 and 34 minutes for him today. I still think that's enough time for him to, produce a nice 30 fantasy point game here. Again, 5X at 5,800 would be about 28 fantasy points. 6X would mean we need about 34 out of him. Get you in that range. I think I expect to see like 30 to 35 fantasy points out of him tonight. I think he'll play about 30 to 32 minutes overall. And, at 5,800, I still think he's pretty cheap. His price is starting to rise, but I don't think it's gotten to the point where it's overly expensive yet. He's a little bit more risky, probably more of a GPP play than some of the other guys that we mentioned, who I'm also going to be rolling in cash. But I do still think you got to give a look to D'Angelo Russell tonight as well. So those are 4 guys in my lineups tonight. I think they're pretty reasonably priced, and I think they're guys that'll, free up some salary for you to pay elsewhere. There are a lot of options that you can look at tonight. I think it's going to be either a 2 center or a 3 point guard night for me over on DraftKings, with me using a point guard in the utility spot, or a second point guard in the guard spot and a center in the utility spot. So that's the way that I see it. Like I said, there's a lot of tournaments out there tonight, so make sure you get some money out there. Good luck, everybody, with your games tonight. Hope that somebody takes down something big, and make sure to tweet at us if you do take down something big. We always like to hear when, you guys are listening to our advice and, it winds up leading to some money. So if we're not the ones that win one of the big tournaments tonight, hopefully it's one of you guys out there. So thank you for joining us here for our NBA DraftKings video over at rotocurve.com. And as always, stay classy, DFS.